Everybody wants to have some big legs, but nobody wants to train them. Like a lot of people, they're just skipping out on legs, and some people don't really know how to train legs most effectively. And that's why today I'm gonna show you my leg day, how I do it. I've done a lot of research on training legs. My legs were always really skinny. I've managed to make some improvements. If you choose the right exercises and train with the right intensity, that's gonna be it, and you're gonna have some great improvements on your legs. Now, first off, I wanna say this leg day you're gonna notice is a little bit lower volume than you might be used to. This is because I train legs with a very high intensity, and you should too. Training legs with a high intensity is really important. A lot of people, they train legs and they have up to 15 reps still in the tank, because like when you're training legs, it starts to burn really fast. You're gonna have a lot of exhaustion because the legs are like the largest muscles in the body, right? They're the strongest muscles, and so training them to failure is gonna be like really straining on you, like physically, on the whole nervous system, and also mentally, because like it's gonna be really painful. That's why people don't want to train legs. So just look at these volume prescriptions. You can go a little bit lower, you can go a little bit higher. It depends on you anyways, but just don't go like, oh wow, it's such low volume. I'm not gonna do this. Just give it a try. Go for the high intensity, and it's actually gonna work out, and you're gonna find that you maybe need even less volume than I've prescribed. So we got our split here, and we're gonna start off with lying leg curls. And I chose lying leg curls at the start because we're training the hamstring in its shortened position. And I chose this because training the muscle in its shortened position first, this is where the muscle usually is weakest. So we're gonna fatigue that position first, and then later you see we have seated leg curls. This is gonna put some emphasis on the lengthened position of the hamstring. So we have this later in the workout because the lengthened position for most muscles, usually the lengthened to mid position, is the strongest position for the muscles. So the muscle is still stronger there, so we train later. So we start off with lying leg curls in a 10 to 14 rep range. I like to have exercises that focus on the shortened position with a little bit higher rep range. And we have the added benefit that we can warm up the knee joint for our leg press and our squat later. So we start off with that. Just make sure when you're doing the lying leg curls, you control the eccentric, and you can come up really fast on the concentric. Just don't use like any momentum when you're coming down to the bottom, right? You want to really don't want to swing. You want to pause at the bottom a little bit and then like actively contract this. This is also what I see a lot of people do wrong on leg extensions, where they just like swing out of the bottom. They use the twitch reflex, and you don't want that. You don't want the stretch reflex. You want to like really contract, use all the muscle fibers. So like keep an eye out for that, and obviously get like the right contraction on those. Then we'll move on to leg press. And now I chose leg press. This is gonna really depend on what leg press you have at your gym. There are some gyms that have like really bad leg presses where you can get like barely any depth. And then there are leg presses that are like really great where you can get a lot of depth without like modifying the exercise or anything. So why is depth so important? You probably see most people, they train, especially on leg press, they just go like to 90 degrees of knee flexion at the maximum. And you probably heard some people tell you that you don't even need to go any lower, or that you maybe shouldn't go any lower because you might injure yourself. And that's actually wrong. Now, you need to train your legs just like any other muscle to the fullest range of motion, right? If you're doing your bicep curls, right? You're doing your bicep curls. You wouldn't be like, okay, I'm just only gonna come down to here, right? I'm only gonna come down to here, and then I'm gonna go up. What the fuck kind of bicep curl is that? That's fucking horrible. Same with chest. You wouldn't go like, and I'm gonna stop because I at 90 degrees. This is not bench press. You go all the way down and all the way up. On every muscle, people usually do this on like most muscle groups where there's not a lot of flexibility involved, right? Everybody can extend their arm fully and contract the arm fully. If you can't, then you probably have like really big problems. But on legs, your Achilles tendon might prevent you from doing it. You might not have the right hip mobility, but you can work on that. So what you need to do is you have to try to get as much depth out of your movements as possible without your heels lifting off the platform on the leg press, for example. So if your leg press, for example, doesn't allow you to have this much volume because there are stoppers, this would mean you have a bad leg press, right? Then you can roll up a yoga mat and put it on the seat where your low back would be, and this will push you a little bit forward, and so you can achieve a little bit more depth. And you're gonna have to the rest you have to have it a little bit higher, not like very low, because you're gonna have a little bit of stability problems if you go very low. But generally, this yoga mat technique helps a lot, getting like better depth, right? And you're gonna see that you're gonna have to drop your weight a little bit more, because when you reach bigger depth, it's gonna be much harder to get the weight up. So you might want to drop your load for this. But it's really important that you execute this same as with leg curls and with any exercise. Nice and controlled eccentric, pause at the bottom in the lengthened position, and then like press up really with a controlled movement and get that depth, get the good form, and you're going to be good on leg press. So we move on. We didn't mention the rep range. We have the 6 to 10 rep range. This is because on these like heavier compound exercise, we want to keep the rep range a little bit lower, as it's like very systemically fatiguing. So going like anywhere above 10 reps on this would be, in my opinion, a little bit stupid, because it's going to be so fatiguing on your central nervous system that you might even like stop, not because of like muscular failure, but because you just run out of cardio, right? So keep the rep range a little bit lower. Same as on the next exercise, we have Smith machine squats. Now I chose Smith machine squats like as a complementary to the leg. So the leg press focuses more on the mid position of the quad, while the Smith machine squats will focus on the lengthened position. So I always try to have like, at least in one workout, I would never want to have in like one workout 2 exercises for one muscle that focus on the same range, that bias like the same range of contraction, because that would be redundancy. That's why in the workout I have different ones. So Smith machine squats for the lengthened position. Now this is a rather hard exercise. You could do hack squats instead if you have a good hack squat machine. However, a good hack squat machine is kind of rare, so I opted to put in Smith machine squats right here. So what you want to look out for is that you put your feet as low, so as close beneath you as possible, without your heels lifting off the ground when you go into full depth. So you're gonna have to play around with it a little bit. If you have your feet too far ahead of you, you run a risk of having butt wink. So your pelvis, your lower pelvis is gonna round, and this puts a lot of strain on your lower back, puts the load away from the quads. So this is what you don't want. So you wanna have your feet as low beneath you as possible, without your heels lifting off the ground. And this is where your ankle mobility is gonna come in. And if you can put like plates under your feet to like lift your heel up a little bit, take the stress off the Achilles tendon. You can have, if you have lifting shoes that are elevated on the heel, you can use those. Then you can use these wedges that you have, like these triangular wedges that you can put there, actually designed for that. And the lifting shoes and the triangular wedges are like the preferred option, because they are more stable. With the plates, you're gonna find that your feet you have a little of a problem translating the force into the ground. So I would only advise you to use these heel elevation techniques if you really need to, and if your like range of motion is suffering. If you can get into a low squat without those, like me for example, then don't use them. So just get down into low squat and make sure that when you come up out of the hole, you really don't stick your butt back, right? If you stick your butt back, you're gonna make this more of a lower back exercise, like a good morning, and this is what you don't want. You really want to like put the stress on the quads. So when you go down, when you lower the weight, you wanna really think about pushing your knees forward, outward of your toes, and then when you come up, you wanna keep your butt always forward and don't like scoot back, right? And then we're gonna have a 5 to 9 rep range, a little bit lower than the leg press, because this is a little bit more systemically fatiguing even. 2 sets the volume, as I said, individual. So then we're gonna go to seated leg curls. Seated leg curls, the complementary exercises to the lying leg curls. A little bit higher rep range, 8 to 12. not as high as on lying leg curls. They're a little bit more like a lengthened position exercise, so we keep it a little bit lower. The most important thing you want to do when it comes to seated leg curls is that you push the pad that you have to put down on your quads to keep your legs in place as low down as possible. You might think you're already as low as possible, but you might be able to go like one notch lower, and this is really going to help you with stability. And then another thing is that you can lean forward a little bit. This will emphasize the stretch on the hamstrings, and might, depending on the machine, give you a little bit more stability. Then we come to the adductor machine. Adductor machine, just to get your legs looking a little bit bigger from the front. This like helps to close the thigh gap that a lot of people have. I like training adductors isolated. Some people say that if you do deep squats and do deep leg press, you don't need to train them. So if you personally think that your adductors are very good and you don't need to train them even more, then you can leave this out. But I think it's a worthy addition. Similar to the seated leg curls, we have 8 to 12 rep range, 2 sets, just do it nice and controlled, try to get a deep stretch. And then lastly, we have standing calf raises. Now, I like to do the standing calf raises on a machine where you're seated. This looks kind of like a leg press where you push like a sled in which you sit. I don't like the standing calf raise machines where the load is directly above your back. I think it puts too much stress on my lower back. You can generally move a lot of weight with your calves, strong muscles, and having all that strain on your upper back for like a high rep range as we have it here, I really don't like it. So I like to use like these sitting calf raise machines where your legs are still straight. So not like a seated calf raise, but I have it here as a standing calf raise. But I prefer definitely the ones where the stress is taken off your back and your spine. Now we have a 10 to 15 rep range. Calves, you can go for a higher rep range. The most important thing when you're training calves is that you really go into the stretch as deep as possible, and this is also going to help you with your squat mobility because it stretches the Achilles tendon. So training your legs to your calves through the full range of motion is going to help you with your squat mobility immensely. And another important thing is that you really go slow on calf raises. This is like the muscle that is where it's the most important to have a slow execution. The concentric doesn't have to be overly slow as always, but your eccentric should always be like at least 2 to 3 seconds, and then hold like 1 to 2 seconds at the bottom and come up. The calves are the most active muscle in the body. You're walking, that's like they have the most strain on them. They are like endurance. They're used for endurance, so they have a lot of slow twitch muscle fibers. And also the Achilles tendon is the strongest tendon in the body. So when you see people going on calf raise very fast and just like they're using the Achilles tendon a lot, they're using using a lot of momentum, and that's what you don't want. You really want to go slow on the calf raises, and that's how you're gonna get your calves growing. I know there aren't any bathing shots that cover your calves yet, so you're gonna have to train them, and this is really how you're gonna get the most out of your calf training. Most people think that calves are just genetics and you can't really do anything about it. I managed to grow my calves a little bit now to where they're not like embarrassing to look at, and it really helped me like going really slow on those, and you really feel the burn, but you're gonna have to get through it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the leg day review today. This is what I've been doing. Now you can, if you do this leg day, this is pretty much all you need. If you want to alternate a little bit, you can put like a leg extension instead of maybe the squats on some days, like on the other day of the week maybe. This will have some more variety, train the quads a little bit more in the shortened position. And yeah, that's it for today, guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions. I'm out.